Hey, if you run a business with subscriptions, you know that reoccurring payments are pretty much your lifeblood, right? But what if? What if you could make them way cheaper, a whole lot faster, and truly global? That's the promise of Bitcoin we're going to dig into today. Let's get started.
Okay, I think every single business owner can relate to this. You're looking at your revenue, feeling good, and then you see that little slice, or sometimes not so little slice, that just vanishes into the hands of payment processors. It really adds up, doesn't it? Month after month. But what if there was a way to shrink that slice, like a lot? I mean, just look at this. It's a huge difference. With your standard credit cards, you could be losing up to 3.5% on every single transaction. Now look at Bitcoin. We're talking under 1%. If you're running a business with a ton of recurring payments, that isn't just pocket change. That is a serious, significant boost right to your bottom line.
And it's not even just about the cost. It's about how fast you get your money. Cash flow is king, right? We all know that. And waiting 2, maybe 3 business days for your funds to finally settle, that's just normal for traditional systems. But with Bitcoin, we're talking 10 to 60 minutes. That is a massive, game-changing improvement for managing your company's cash.
Okay, so you're probably thinking what I'm thinking. Lower fees, way faster settlements. It sounds like a complete no-brainer. So that brings us to the big question, the paradox of it all. If it's so great, why isn't everyone using it for subscriptions? Why hasn't every company on the planet made the switch?
Exactly. What's the catch, right? It all sounds just a little too good to be true. And, well, there is a catch. There are some very real hurdles that have kept this from becoming the standard, and we really need to understand what they are. So here they are, the 4 big ones. First off, price volatility. I mean, how are you supposed to forecast your revenue when the value of the currency can swing wildly? Second, and this is a big one, is the manual authorization. How do you automate payments if your customer has to physically approve it every single time? Then, of course, there's the technical complexity of setting it all up and trying to keep up with a regulatory landscape that's, constantly changing.
And that manual authorization thing, it really comes down to this fundamental difference. Think about it. Your credit card subscription is what we call a pull payment. The business just pulls the money from your account automatically each month. But Bitcoin, it's a push system. The customer has to actively push or send the payment every single billing cycle. Now, this gives the customer way more control, which is great for them, but it completely breaks that set it and forget it model that we're all so used to.
So the big question is, how do we get around these problems? Well, this is where the right technology comes into play. You can't just, flip a switch and have it work. You have to build a kind of technical bridge between how Bitcoin works and the automation your business really needs. So let's take a look at the tools you need to build that bridge. All right, this is basically your technical toolkit. You're going to need a few key things. First, super secure wallets to hold your funds, obviously. Then, a solid database to keep track of who's paid and who hasn't. And then, there are 2 really key pieces for the automation part. A payment gateway, like Flash, to actually process the transactions, and something called webhooks, which are what let all these different systems talk to each other automatically.
And here's how that whole journey looks in practice. It's actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, your system sends out an invoice. Step 2, the customer pushes the payment, and your system immediately detects it. Then, it just waits for that payment to be confirmed on the blockchain. And once that happens, boom, access is granted automatically. It's this clear, predictable process that actually makes automation possible.
Let's talk a little more about webhooks, because they're super important. The easiest way to think of them is like your system's own personal, hyper-efficient accountant. So instead of you or your team having to manually check, did this payment come in yet? A webhook is just an automated message that instantly screams, hey, payment confirmed, or uh-oh, this person just canceled. It's this little piece of magic that triggers all the crucial back-end automation.
Okay, so we've got the tech in place. We've built the bridge, but what does this actually look like day to day? Managing this new workflow, especially when payments fail, and they will, it really requires a totally different mindset than what you're used to. So you've really got 2 ways to go here. You can manage it all manually, which gives you a ton of control and can be great for, say, your big enterprise clients. But it's just not scalable, and let's be honest, it's prone to human error. The other way is automation, using all those tools we just talked about. And that is way more efficient. It's scalable, and it just dramatically cuts down your team's workload.
But you know what? For most businesses, the real sweet spot is probably somewhere in the middle. A hybrid approach. Let your automated systems handle like 99% of all the routine payments. That frees up your team to provide that really high-touch, manual help for the exceptions or for unique customer situations. It's really the best of both worlds.
Now, handling payment failures. This is where things get really different from traditional systems. You can't just retry a failed charge. It doesn't work that way. Bitcoin transactions are irreversible. So that means your whole process for chasing down late payments, what we call dunning, it has to be completely rethought. It needs to be helpful, not punitive. It's all about guiding the customer to make that next push payment, not just sending angry emails demanding money.
All right, we've gone through the incredible promise, the tough problems, and the tech solutions. So now it's time for the final verdict. Let's really weigh the pros and cons side by side to help you figure out if this is a path that's actually worth exploring for your business.
And this table really lays it all out, doesn't it? I mean, Bitcoin wins and wins big on things like speed, fees, getting rid of chargebacks, and reaching a global audience. But you have to admit, traditional systems still have the clear advantage when it comes to stability, how easy the setup is, and just plain old customer familiarity. There's no one right answer here. It is absolutely a trade-off.
But hey, while you're weighing those trade-offs, I want you to think about this number. 420 million. That's how many people around the world are expected to own crypto this year. That is not a niche audience anymore. That is a massive global market that you could potentially tap into just by offering Bitcoin as a payment option.
And here's a really important point about the modern tools available, like Flash. They're what's called non-custodial. What that means is they are just the software that connects your wallet to your customer's wallet. They never, ever touch or hold your funds. This completely eliminates the risk of some third party freezing your account, and it gives you complete control over your own money. That's huge.
So when you boil it all down, what does it take to succeed here? I like to think of it as a three-legged stool. First, you have to have the right tech to automate everything. Second, you need crystal clear communication to help your customers understand this whole push payment idea. And third, you absolutely positively have to stay on top of the regulations because they are always changing. And ultimately, this is the question you're left with. Is that potential for radical efficiency, for much lower costs, and for a truly global reach? Is it worth the technical challenge for your business? The potential is undeniable, but it does come with a learning curve. Hopefully, what we've gone through today has given you the framework to start finding that answer for yourself.